What is going on? I want to welcome you from F Court for today, Wednesday, October 5th, 2022. It is October, gentlemen. That means it is basketball season, and we are right in the midst of it. As of right now, the Pistons are down by 32 points to the New York Knicks to open the preseason. I'm your host, Sean Murphy, alongside my brother, Jeff Iafrady. Jeff, so good to see you, my friend. But
It's good
also,
it's good to see you. But you know what's worse than this is the Knicks now are 8 for 8 in the third quarter from three so far. So
8
you know
for
what?
8.
not ideal, but you know what is ideal? You know what is ideal? Having my boy back because, ladies and gentlemen, back from honeymoon,
Woo!
back from marriage is my guy, Troy Sergey. Troy, it is so good to have you back, brother.
It's good to be back, man. I'm telling you, when I was in Hawaii, I realized I packed my Restore shirt from opening night last year. I put it on. We were doing some sightseeing in the mountains by the ocean. Took a nice pic, put it on Twitter, and our boy Ashton, Cade Cunningham's trainer, liked it. So everything that we can do to represent Motown, no matter where we are, even if it's in the island of Hawaii, we got to do it because the world needs to see that it's a restoration, not a rebuild.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. My guy Troy showing up at all times in Hawaii with the Restore shirt. Gotta love it.
That's a big boss move right there.
100%.
Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah, be sure you follow him on Twitter at TroySergey44. But dude, it's so good to have you back.
Great to be back.
I know one thing for sure. The great thing was even on your wedding day, because I was in Troy's wedding. You know, there were points where, we were, it was literally like an hour before Troy's wedding. We're talking about getting married, all this type of stuff. And he's like, "Hey, Cunningham, man, he's going to have a good season this year, man." I'm like, "Troy, you're getting married in like 45 minutes. Like, this guy is just like, basketball is never not on the mind." I absolutely love it.
It's never not on the mind. And yes, I was definitely thinking about Cade Cunningham hitting a three when my wife was walking down the aisle. So
what about Bernard King? Did you throw Bernard?
I was not thinking about Bernard King, though. I'll admit there. He was not on my radar.
Oh my gosh! And the best part is even in the wedding speech I gave at the reception, I even stuck in a Carlos Delfino reference.
Yeah, when I was a little bit disappointed because I thought you should have done an Aaron Aflalo reference, but hey, Carlos Delfino.
Are you kidding me? I nailed that mother. You're telling me that you're giving me any critique? I nailed that bitch. Anyway, this is from F Court Reach. Every week we talk all things basketball. If you like that, be sure you like this video, you like this podcast, subscribe to the channel, and also share with your friends. Also, we are on all the podcast services that your heart can desire. It's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Spotify, and if you're a nerd, it's on a lot of the other ones too. So you can definitely go find them in a lot of different places, and we appreciate you tuning in. But with that, gentlemen, I figured, because it's going to be the title of this, it's going to be the top of people's minds when they click on this video. Let's talk preseason action, specifically what we're seeing tonight. Obviously, the Pistons are going to be losing this game big unless you are unaware of that. And, there is going to be a lot of reactions to some poor performances from the starting lineup, specifically from shooting and beyond the arc, and also just from the Knicks offensive attack thus far. Troy, Jeff, I want to start with one thing and one thing only. And I want to make sure I'm saying this as loud as possible. So I know I normally use my effects as a joke, like as comedic humor, but I want to use it for emphasis at this point. So if you'll allow me. Ahem. It's the preseason. That is my thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts?
Similar. Go, Troy. You're good. You can take it.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, definitely similar. But the one good thing, I want to be an optimist here. The one good thing that I want to definitely touch on is that Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren are guys you want on your basketball team. I mean, that's the big thing that I got about tonight on a positive note, is these are guys that you want on your team. These are guys that are going to help your team win games. Jaden Ivey's ability to facilitate, but also his athleticism towards the rim. Jalen Duren may have not shown it on the stat sheet, but I think he's a guy that you definitely you're going to have him on the floor, and he's going to help you with rebounding the basketball, helping your team maybe even on the offensive end, rebounding the ball, dishing that out. So I just feel like Jalen Duren and Mr. Ivey are guys that you want on your team. And
in his first 9 minutes, he had 5 rebounds. I mean, Duren was pretty aggressive on the boards right out the bat.
I just can't stress it enough. So,
and I think overall too, because if you look at the game, the biggest thing that stands out if you watch the entire game is the turnovers. But again, people have to understand that, and the reason why I said I agree with you, Sean, is, and we all kind of agree that it's preseason. So especially for a team that's so young, they have to learn, number one, how to play together, but number two, know how to get other guys in the right spots. Like for example, when you look at, Duren, you look at Ivey, these guys now, their first year with the team. Ivey looked very comfortable, by the way. I had to say that as a rookie. I mean, he came out, like you said, Sean, he played well early on. I think he was the only really one of the starters without a turnover for the first half. I mean, he
still doesn't have a turnover, by the way. And
still doesn't have a turnover.
Quarter, yeah.
So it's about guys learning how to play together. Like I saw Jaden Ivey go to the rim and try to do a dump off to Isaiah Stewart. He lost the ball. Like, there's simple stuff that they're going to learn as the season goes on. So I'm not stressing the little things. Overall, the turnovers, they actually shot well from 3. I know they're not shooting well right now, but at halftime, it was like 40-something%. So they were hitting. Killian Hayes, listen, we talked all off season about him being more aggressive. He's being more aggressive, and that's leading also to easy baskets for others. So gotta love it, Sean. It's a lot being on display. The one thing I would say too is to not overreact. Is people tweeting about Cade Cunningham, like just having a slump.
It's preseason.
It's preseason. The guy, listen, just go out there, get reps, and honestly, just get warmed up for the season. I don't care how Cade, Saddiq Bey, these guys shoot. It's just about getting Jaden Ivey. To me, it's about getting Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren more comfortable. Livers more reps. Everybody else just more reps. Isaiah Stewart made a 3. It's a lot to unpack, but I don't know how you could be upset with one preseason game.
And there's nothing we're going to learn about Cunningham and Bey in preseason.
Well, nothing.
And let's give some context to this contest, right? Like specifically who the Knicks are, because in case people forgot, just 2 years ago, the New York Knicks were hosting a playoff series in the first round. The New York Knicks have a Tom Thibodeau-led defense that is focused on intensity, focused on, forcing turnovers, focused on getting in passing lanes, being at the point of attack. Like, this is what this team does. And so, it's not surprising that a team that is in the beginning of training camp, it's their first game truly together in an organized basketball context. They literally have Bojan Bogdanovic, who just came into the team a week ago, who, by the way, has looked really solid, especially in the first half, 3 of 3 from beyond the arc. But also a New York Knicks team who, in comparison, has a lot of experience together. If anything, in theory, got better by adding Jalen Brunson, who, by the way, can we start apologizing about all of us saying that he wasn't a legitimate point guard? Because he looked like a legitimate point guard. If we're going to say anything, he looks like a continuation of the guy we saw in the playoffs this last year. I know it's only the preseason, but he looks like a solid guy, though. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, he does. Solid. Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, and I think you made a great point too. And we talked about this on the halftime show when we did on From Half Court, which you can go check out, by the way. But we talked about that Tom Thibodeau defense. Like, for your first preseason game to go against the Knicks and Tom Thibodeau, it's there's going to be ups and downs, and you see the turnovers. So that's part of it too. I mean, they're in New York, at Madison Square Garden, playing in front of a bunch of celebrities. It's a big game for all these young guys. So listen, there's a lot of things you could take from it, but overall, there's a lot of good things you could definitely take from it, but it's preseason. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and break down the game, but the things we were talking about that we wanted to see, we're getting to see, which, Livers, Stewart stretching the floor, Killian Hayes being more aggressive, like those things. I don't need to see, as much as I want to see Saddiq and you want to see him play well. Like, I know what Saddiq's going to bring me. There's a lot of guys I don't know, and that's what I've been looking for watching the game.
Right.
And Killian's ability to be aggressive down the hole too has been impressive too. I mean, the stats might not show it, but if you watch the game, his ability to pass first, we've always known he's a pass first guard, but the way he was been doing it tonight, I felt like there was confidence added too. And I think that can't be described in any other way, but you just got to watch the film. So
and Troy too, I want to add to that point, because you notice that when Killian goes to the basket, usually he's going to pass, but he's been aggressive against the Knicks, so it's almost like they have to make a decision, and it's leading to easier baskets. So him being aggressive and having that confidence is going to, because he's such a great passer, it's going to allow him to get easy assists. So it's beneficial for him. It's been great to see it.
We still have another quarter yet to go, as at the time of this recording, but as of when we're watching this game, because we are still watching while recording the podcast, because we're going to be doing a lot of that this season, by the way.
Right.
And I'm going to give a little bit of a secret. I watch a lot of basketball during these podcasts from time to time. That's just something I do. But anyway, one thing I do want to point out, Killian Hayes, 5 of 9 from the field through 3 quarters, is being much more aggressive, is, taking opportunities of getting to the hole, but also shooting from the mid range. I think that was something that not only we saw at the fan practice, but also, something he talked about a little bit in media day, and something he's showing right now in the Garden. So, I think one more thing I want to highlight before we move on to some of the other things, going on throughout the league. Ivey and Duren, how composed they've looked. I think, we touched a little bit on, I was concerned going into this game because I knew Ivey going, into the summer league contest. I think that was really a night where he was nervous, and he showed a little bit of that. Right. But I think tonight, he like we've established, he looks like he's belonged, and he looks like he's an NBA player, and the size will not be an issue with him. This backcourt, seeing what they look like on an NBA court, this is a big backcourt. We have a plus size backcourt. And I'm excited to see what they can do together. The Pistons, they don't have an easy preseason. Their next contest is going to be on Friday, going against the New Orleans Pelicans. And then from there, they're going to face the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then they will wrap up their preseason at some point next week. And then from there, we will be facing the Orlando Magic 2 weeks from tomorrow. Or as of when this comes out, 2 weeks from today. So, yeah, we will be a whole lot of things going to be going down. Be sure you're subscribed and tuned in. We will be closing the preseason, by the way, on the 13th against the Memphis Grizzlies. So we literally got the Knicks, the Pelicans, and the Grizzlies, 3 teams that all could potentially be in the playoffs, and then the Thunders are one easy game. So.
Well, they're probably looking at us like, you know what? We could probably beat the Pistons too.
Yeah, and that's going to be the Troy Weaver, Sam Presti classic. Like, they're going to be going hard for that one.
Absolutely. Sad we can't see Chet. Very sad.
Yeah. How dare you bring that up? But anyway, no. But in all seriousness, let's talk about the rest of the league. Things that are standing out. Preseason basketball has begun, and guys, I don't want to keep ragging on this team, but dear Lord, the Phoenix Suns are in trouble. They came out and they lost to the Adelaide 36ers. The Adelaide 36ers. Troy, pop quiz. What place did the Adelaide 76ers finish in the NBL last year?
3rd?
No. 7th. This was a middle of the pack Australian team. And they looked like the Splash Brothers against the Suns.
Well, Ayton, guys, I know what he's capable of doing, but there's no reason he should still be on this roster going into this season, in my opinion. The Suns should have done something with him this summer. I'm serious, guys.
Right.
Like, I mean, he doesn't look happy. He's not contributing to the way they want him to contribute as far as winning basketball goes. And for some reason, Devin Booker didn't look himself either, I thought. I mean, now stat-wise, he put up a somewhat good performance, didn't play a ton. But I just feel like this team doesn't have a lot moving forward. And it's certainly their chemistry after that Game 7 bahoozle against Dallas.
So I do want to point out real quick before you go, Jeff. Craig Randall had 35 points, 9 of 17 from beyond the arc.
Where did he go to college?
I couldn't tell you. Actually, yes, I can. Craig Randall. Actually, no, I can't, because he is not known enough on ESPN to actually have a college in his biography. But he did score 35 points against the Phoenix Suns. And then Robert Franks from Washington State scored 32 points.
Wow.
But Jeff, your thoughts?
Well, obviously Devin Booker's my guy. So I watched that game, and the one thing you could tell too is watching is the 36ers. They wanted that game, and the Suns didn't care for that game. Like, that's the difference. Like, for an NBL team to beat the Suns, it's a huge deal, even if it's a preseason. Like, those guys shot the hell out of the ball. And I forgot which Suns player came out afterwards and was like, yeah, they couldn't miss. Like, and again,
Bridges.
Suns,
is that Bridges?
Yeah, it might have been Bridges. But my real problem with the Suns, I'm not gonna say I'm concerned from one preseason game, but what I will
Have you
say,
watched the game, by the way?
What?
Did either of you watch the game, by the way?
Just the highlights.
Yeah, I watched the second half. I didn't watch the
Okay.
first half.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I watched the entirety of it. It just, that team, I mean, you can just feel the tension on the court. Like, even though they
Right.
know how to play together and like they know how to feed it to Ayton, like it just, like you said, Troy, like you can just tell that he doesn't want to be there. But also you can just tell that, that there's just still that friction, that there's not that connectivity as a team. Like, this isn't a group that's like excited to be playing together. It's a group that's like, we're still here. Like we're taking another shot. Like, and now in a deeper Western Conference, like not saying that this is, like this means they're a bad team, right? Because anyone can lose in any given night. And let's be honest, this was the Adelaide 36ers Super Bowl. Like, they were coming out, they had nothing to lose.
Yeah,
they were firing on all cylinders.
They looked like the Suns team that lost by, they got blown out against the Mavericks. Like, this is the team in the last game of the series. Like, this is what that looks like. And I think the problem is with the Suns is Devin, to me, like, although I think he's a fantastic player, he's a 2. Like, he's I don't think he's a guy. And a lot of guys, especially in today's NBA, you can name ones, but they do need a sidekick. For Devin, I don't think he's the guy to lead you, to win a championship. But I do think, DeAndre Ayton, he's probably your third, fourth best player on a championship team. And a CP3 is in this weird divide where he's aging and he doesn't want to be that guy, but they still need CP3. When they made that finals run, CP3 was him and Devin.
He got him to the finals. He got him to the finals.
Absolutely. So you're seeing CP now be a little more timid. Like, all right, guys, this is your team. You're taking it over. But like, Devin and DeAndre aren't those guys. And they paid Michael. They paid Cameron Johnson. So for me, the Suns, I even looking at it, even if they won that game, I just, and like you said, just how they played, their attitude off the court, even DeAndre in the post game, like you were talking about before the game, during the press conferences, like talking about, yeah, I'm happy here. Yeah, this is fine. Like, I'm cool. I'm like, in the Sarver situation coming out, it's a disaster internally in their organization, but on the court, I just never thought this team I don't think they're going to make a finals, even if everything was going good, just because I don't think they have enough, in my opinion, right now. But yeah, it's bad over in Phoenix right now. The culture is shot.
Yeah,
absolutely shot.
Yeah, this is certainly not how you want to start their season. I mean, granted, if there's any coach you want to have in this situation, it's Monty Williams. He was the coach of the year this last year for a reason. However, Troy, as someone that, has played basketball, as someone that's been on teams, the prospect of not talking to your coach for an entire offseason after, especially when you had a tumultuous ending to that season and a trying ending with that said coach, is that not like something that's like rings alarm bells in your head and is preposterous to you?
Yeah, of course it rings alarm bells. And I think it's impossible to think that your team can be successful in the way that you want it to be because of that. And I think, when you look at a team like Phoenix, you need that chemistry. You need that compatibility between your coach and your players to be on the same page. It doesn't sound like the Suns have that. I have not seen the Suns have that, especially with this NBL loss to the Australian team. I just feel like I'm not going to say I'm going to write them off right here, right now on this podcast. But like you said, Sean, with the competitive West, you got teams like Memphis crawling up there. You got teams like even Denver. We'll probably get to that in a minute with their performance this past year or this past week preseason. The Clippers as well, too. So, a year ago, the Suns were probably all three of our favorites to make the Western Conference Finals and to come out of the West in the NBA Finals. Of course, they weren't able to do that this past year, but I can't see them being any of our favorites again this year because of that. So to answer your question more bluntly, no, that's a poor way to start your season with your coach and your star player not on speaking terms.
Yeah, for sure. And ultimately time will tell. And, this is, this is still a solid roster. Chris Paul, when healthy, is still, a really good player. But, the question is, are we still going to keep getting that same Chris Paul? At what point will his health ultimately come in, and when will that decline, start to happen?
From Half Court is brought to you by Manscaped. When we talk about post players, there is few better players in the restricted area than our friends over at Manscaped. With great products such as the Lawnmower 4.0 with skin-safe technology, the Weed Whacker, their deodorants, lotions, and more, Manscaped is unrivaled when it comes to the men's hygiene game, serving over 8 million balls worldwide. That's a lot of testicles, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're finding yourself in need of Manscaped products, be sure to go to manscaped.com and use code HALFCOURT at checkout, because that can get you 20% off plus free shipping. Our friends at Manscaped sent us these products, and I can tell you that they are absolutely for real. I have been absolutely satisfied and in love with their entire product line, from boxers, t-shirts, the Lawnmower 4.0 to the Weed Whacker ear and nose trimmer. You can really not go wrong. Be sure to go to manscaped.com and use code HALFCOURT at checkout for 20% off plus free shipping. Thank you again to our friends at Manscaped for sponsoring this video.
That wasn't the only action or the only people that were playing this past week. Another player that, a player that made their return to the NBA court and in NBA action, Ben Simmons played basketball and suited up against his former team, the Philadelphia 76ers, and overall looked like a guy that was playing his first game with his new team and missed basketball for a year. I think he looks a lot like the Ben Simmons that we saw before, he left. I don't really think his game looks improved. I think he's going to certainly try to take more shots. I certainly, looking at how some of his shots landed, I certainly don't know if he should be taking more shots, but you know what?
Right.
That is his prerogative. But guys, I'm not sure if you were able to catch any of that, but what were your thoughts of that game? What are your thoughts of where the Brooklyn Nets currently stand? I will say, I do like the current construction of their roster better than last year. Like guys like Royce O'Neal looked really solid right away off the bench. Even guys like Seth Curry, who aren't in the lineup, bringing him back in, that's going to be another threat. Joe Harris being back, another solid presence for them. I think they're going to be better than last year for sure.
I think Ben Simmons, too, the most important thing he brings for the Brooklyn Nets, something they lacked, is defense, especially at 6'10", like to be able to guard all 5 positions. That's something they didn't have. And on top of that is playmaking ability. But the problem is, do you put the ball in Ben Simmons' hands and say, listen, like, because for him to be successful, that's how it's going to work. Like it's not like he can play off ball unless he's, in the dunker spot, just chilling. Like he's not, you saw some of those shots looked when he was attempting them. Like it looks, and I get it. It's his first preseason game. I'm not going to overreact, but to me personally, just evaluating the game, it did, like you said, Sean, it looked like the same Ben Simmons. Like for me, the Brooklyn Nets, I'm with you. I think they look better than they did last year. I actually like the Brooklyn Nets. I don't know how far they can go, but if you have a healthy KD and Kyrie and you have Ben Simmons and you have the team around them, like Joe Harris now finally back, I like the Brooklyn Nets this year. I have
no
to wait.
Reason they shouldn't be in the second round.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, they're better, I think, than last year, and they got swept by the Boston Celtics. So we'll see. I think the East is, obviously, we talk about how tough it is, but I think Ben Simmons in Brooklyn, it's going to be interesting to see how the pairing works and what his role is for the season.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think the defense is a big thing Jeff touched on that I saw too, that he brings a different element to this Nets team. But also, him on the offensive end. Sean, I think you hit it well of this is a guy that hasn't played basketball in over 365 days, and it sure showed. So I think the more touches, and I would hope that Ben Simmons would utilize this preseason as a way to, of course, get back into shape, be able to get touches, run around the court, right? To make sure that he's in the best basketball shape that he can be in a couple of weeks when the regular season starts. So the defense is the big thing that I see, but at the same time, I would like a little more on the offensive end, I think, for me to actually call the Nets a true contender out of the East this year.
And he's going to have to showcase. He's going to have to showcase that growth this season and that willingness, because he said he'll shoot threes. He said he's willing to shoot. So, show it. He said that before, so I'm more interested to see how he's going to be as a pick and roll guy, specifically as a roll man, as a picking guy. I was watching what he was like off the ball today, and,
I'm just interested to see how he evolves in that area. And listen, the league's just better with Ben Simmons on the court. So at the end of the day, having him back in general is just a win for the league, win for the fans, win for the Brooklyn Nets. So ultimately, just good to see him back. Another team that's running it back is the Los Angeles Lakers. And they're saying, man, we're going to keep this roster together. And we are optimistic. And I don't want to overreact to anything, guys, but that Sacramento Kings roster I like better than what the Lakers currently have right now. I know they have LeBron and Anthony Davis, but like, listen, man, I would pick Sacramento to go to the play-in right now over the Lakers, even if they're healthy.
Well, listen, I don't agree with that one, but I get where you're coming from, though. I'm not saying you're completely wrong, because you're saying especially we talk about culture for the Suns, the culture for the Lakers, and I'm interested to see, because I love Darvin Ham, but my God, he's got a lot to deal with. Like Russell Westbrook, we talked all offseason, or at least, media did, we did, mentioning Russell as like, what is his role going to be? How is he going to be able to adjust? Because he has this narrative already written on him, and he's fought reporters on it about how he's so stubborn. And it seems like in the first preseason game, it's the same Russ. Like they have to trade Russ. Like this, I don't think this is a question. I don't see how this fit makes any sense, because not only is LeBron completely quit on defense, and I get it's preseason, but I'm talking about what I saw last year as well. LeBron completely quitting on defense. Russell Westbrook's right there with him. So Patrick Beverley is going to have to start really stepping up as a leader and start calling these guys out, because they look so lazy. But also, so I'm not saying you're completely crazy, Sean, with that statement.
But guys, where's the shooting? Like, point to me on the roster. Where's the
Anthony
shooting?
Davis.
No, LeBron James.
Dude,
is Anthony Davis genuinely your number one 3-point shooter? Is it supposed to be Austin Reeves or
AK-47? Austin Reeves.
Like, this is a bad roster, man. Like, when you look at it on paper, like this team, like, and again, you don't want to and this isn't an overreaction. Like, I was saying this before.
Yeah, right. We've been saying this.
Yeah. Like, dude, like, I just don't see how this is gonna work. I mean, Troy, like, what are your thoughts of the current roster as constructed? Where do you have them in the playoff picture? Am I being too harsh on the Lakers roster right now?
You're not. Okay, you're a little bit too harsh, but not totally. I would still pick the Lakers in a 7-game series against the Kings.
Well, I'd pick them in a 7-game series against the Kings. What I'm saying is I would bet that the Kings have a better shot at making the play-in right now than the Lakers do.
Sure. And just super briefly, Keegan Murray, everything that we expected from him. Wanted to give him a shout out there because, again,
Mr. Consistent, man.
Yeah. I think he's going to make a great NBA player. Happy we got Ivy, but man, I don't think Murray would have been a horrible pick either. But okay, happy we got Ivy. Anyways,
they both look like NBA players.
Correct, and we can say that without any bias. So, I think with what Jeff said, the biggest thing that I see about this that I wanted to touch on is Russ. He does not belong on this roster. He does not belong on this roster. And I think shame on them for keeping him on this roster for this year, because you had plenty of opportunities to trade him. I know there was a trade with Indiana that might have happened. Even bringing a guy like Miles Turner, I feel like would have gelled better. I mean, I know you don't really get the shooting with him, but you go into year 2. You need to think about this on a general manager's perspective. You go into year 2 with Russ. I just don't think you can do it. I don't think that you have the pieces to put out a contending team. I mean, I don't think any three of us would call the Lakers contenders. Would we? No.
No.
There's no world. There's no.
When you have assets like him, I mean, I wouldn't actually, maybe assets the wrong word with this, but when you have players like him that you can move around and shape up and maybe even bring in draft picks, bring in role players that can at least better help you than what he can do. I just feel like it's foolish bringing him back for year 2. Year 2 is not a smart move.
And that's the problem the Lakers are in right now, because you're paying him, or he's getting paid $40 million. And on top of that, you see how he looks and you see his refusal to fit in anywhere. How is that? How can you sell that to even a team that's, I guess if you're tanking, you could sell that. But other than that, and that's why teams are asking.
They're bringing out a win now team. They're trying to bring out a win now team. And that's
well, guys, if you want to know where the ineptitude starts, if you want to know what in the world is all coming from, I mean, you don't have to look any further, man. I mean, it's from the top. Like all of the report reporting that's been done this past week by the likes of Shams Charania, detailing, what exactly the plan was this offseason, where exactly, the decision making was. And it looks like the Lakers are in a position where, reports suggest that, there's more voices involved than ever. It looks like, people like Jeannie Buss are more involved than ever. And it seems like she is of the mindset that she was particularly optimistic that Russell Westbrook could come back this season and make it work and have a better year with the Lakers. And at the end of the day, this is just, this isn't even like my hatred of the Lakers. This isn't any fandom here. This is just what the Lakers have been. The Lakers have not run off of basketball sense for years. They have run entirely off of emotion, off of highlights, off of what will make the Laker brand look the most exciting, because they go for the players that are exciting on paper. Russell Westbrook was the player that was the most exciting get on paper. He was the third all-star. He was the third MVP caliber player. He was the Showtime Lakers move. But in reality, it wasn't the basketball move. The basketball move would have been getting Buddy Hield in the building from day one. The basketball move would have been getting shooters alongside LeBron James, because you had shooters alongside LeBron James. Your first season, you won a championship. You had that roster in place. And this roster that they're fielding this year, guys, it's worse than the roster that fielded last year. It is. I don't know how it got worse, but it's worse.
Yeah, if you're, and this isn't a shot, but if you're extending Stanley Johnson and depending on him to be a key rotational piece who can't shoot, I mean, you have.
Well, even then, they traded him. He's gone now too.
Right. So you extend him, you trade him, and now look at the roster right now. Kendrick Nunn. I get the starting lineup isn't going to stay that way, but how in the hell are you going to start Kendrick Nunn and Russell Westbrook? If that's the
they look like starters, they missed Stanley Johnson, by the way.
Yeah, they do, definitely. You need, this team needs shooting, which they lacked, which you brought up. They had shooting when they had success, and that's how LeBron's had success his entire career. That's roster construction 101. Know your players and know how to build around them. And to be honest with you, with Russell Westbrook as it sits, for Genie to believe he can change, or Rob Pelinka to believe he can change, that's not how this business works. Like, if you can't work, get rid of him. Find a way to get rid of him, whatever it takes. Do what's best for your basketball team, because LeBron signed that extension. But listen, you're not going to try and screw that man. All right, right now they want to win, and that team looks terrible. It looks god awful.
Yeah, I mean, guys, a starting five of Russell Westbrook, Kendrick Nunn, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Damian Jones. I mean,
can't win. People don't remember too. Okay, so yeah, last year they even missed the play-in, but the year before that they were a 7th seed. Did they even win one game against the Suns? I think maybe one, but they were bounced out in the first round. So it's not like this team showed any potential in the past. Even now, we're going on year 3 of this current constructed roster. So I just feel like they're not able to shake up the move that they needed to do to put out a contending team.
Well, the Lakers they have those picks in their back pocket. Signing LeBron, a lot of people believe was a sign that in return they will trade those picks. They will trade those picks to improve this roster. But I mean, even if they improve this roster, let's say they remove Russell Westbrook from the equation. Let's say they bring in Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, right? What's their ceiling? A play-in team?
Yeah.
If that, even then, how many games of Anthony Davis am I really
right? And that's supposed to be your best player. That's supposed to be your most impactful player, and he might not even play 50 games.
But even then, guys, this for this roster to succeed, you know what it looks like it's gonna have to happen again? LeBron's gonna have to play extended minutes and potentially put himself in a position of injury again. And listen, he signed up for it. He signed that extension, but things ain't looking great in La La Land.
No,
that's all I'm saying.
No, it's not.
Another player that returned this past week was Jamal Murray in Denver Nuggets action. And I know it's early, but Jamal Murray still has that speed, man. I mean, what I will say, I'm excited to see how he progresses, but it seems to me like guys are healing better and better and better from that ACL injury. And that's just, as modern medicine's evolving, it's just a relief to see Jamal Murray still has that boost and that burst that he had. So what were your guys' thoughts on that game? And Troy, I know you brought them up. What stood out about the Denver Nuggets?
I think Murray's ability to put the ball in the hole for me. I think coming back from that injury and able to still shoot the ball the way that we know he played, especially in the play-in tournament, into the bubble tournament that he played a couple years ago, and the Nuggets went on that little run there. For me, just his ability to get buckets, that he's back. And, obviously basketball is a game of buckets. Sure, it's a game of defense. Sure, it's a game of many other things. But I think the Nuggets adding him to the roster, because I think they were missing a piece last year. We all
and Michael Porter Jr. too. He came back and he was 5 for 7 for the field as well. I mean,
he's another guy too. So I think adding those shooters around Joker will be very helpful. And Sean, I think you said it once on the podcast. They're my sleeper in the West, because I think if they get everyone healthy, if they're on the same page, this is a team that could make the Western Conference Finals. This is a team that could maybe even make the NBA Finals. That's a stretch. I know.
The last time this roster was fully healthy and playing together, Troy, they made the Western Conference Finals. You saying
so maybe
that
the next step that's extreme is the NBA Finals.
Yeah, it's not particularly crazy, because Jeff, if Jokic plays at MVP caliber level again this year, which he's shown he can, if he takes it another level, it could be in contention there.
And health is the most important thing. That's why I'm glad you guys kind of nailed the points I was going to bring up. It's Michael Porter Jr. for me. That was number one, because this is a guy who only played 9 games last year. I get Jamal is very important, but Michael Porter Jr. could be that difference maker. Like if you have Michael Porter Jr. take that next step, now you have a nice core. You have Aaron Gordon. You have guys that can fill different roles. And for me, we know what this team can be when healthy. You alluded to it, Sean. We know what they can do. But if these guys they're also getting better. Don't forget that. They're not old men. These guys are going to improve. But on top of that, they're coached well. They have a great home court advantage. I mean, they play teams tough. I know they lost in the playoffs, but Jokic put the team on his back pretty much. So listen, no questions for me about the Nuggets. If you want to call them a sleeper, I am all here for it. This team just has to be healthy. That's the only thing for me. Other than that, they got everything on paper. They really do, man.
Also, adding guys like not only in adding a guy like Bruce Brown, this
underrated
offseason, but also Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Both of those guys on the same team. I mean, like if you're talking about two of my favorite, wing players that we've had in the Pistons over the past decade, that's two of them right there. I mean, those guys know how to play the game. So, I'm excited to see what they can do. I think they're putting a really competitive roster on the court this year. I'm really excited for what they have coming up. Josh Giddey, by the way, had a really good performance in that game as well. Was even hit a couple pull-up threes, was showcasing his work on his jump shot. If Josh Giddey keeps showing that off, wait. Having said that, though, I didn't really watch. I didn't really watch too much of the Thunder, because I don't really give too much of a about them this year because of chat, because it hurts my soul. But anyway, another thing I wanted to touch on quickly: New Orleans Pelicans. Guys, Zion looks like a freaking monster. I mean, one thing from Media Day that jumped out, and I sent you guys both, I believe, the picture of the transformation of what Zion, where he was versus where he's at now. Guys, this guy looks on a different level. His physicality, if he is indeed healthy this season, I think there's a legitimate case for him to win the MVP. I'm that confident. And this roster is tailored around him to make some noise in the West this season.
I mean, look at what he was in college too. I mean, I think that might be the best. I hate to say it, but it might be the best comparison of what he's capable of as far as his potential, because we saw what he could do. Yeah, I mean, there he is right there. I think with his strength, we know his strength, we know his versatility. I think he's a guy that can contribute to that team as along with Ingram too, because I think Ingram's going to be a big part of that piece as well. But if those guys are on the same page, yeah, you're looking at a playoff team, not a play-in team. You're looking at a playoff team with the New Orleans Pelicans. So
Yeah, they got a lot of talent, man. They do, and Zion brings them to a whole nother level because when healthy, it's a 27-point score on like 60% field goal percent. It's ridiculous. I mean, the guy, and we don't even mention because the whole thing in high school when he was coming out is his ability to get chase down blocks. You see what he does, his athleticism. It's ridiculous. And now that he's slimmer, hopefully he could play an entire season, a couple seasons and start stacking them. So for Zion, man, as long as he stays healthy, we know what Zion could do. And we saw what that Pelicans team could do with CJ McCollum now. They have a nice little core built in with Brandon Ingram. They have a nice core with the Pelicans. I'm excited to see what they can do. I really am.
I mean, we're seeing efficiency from scoring in the paint that we haven't seen since Shaq.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He gets anything he wants.
That's who he is. So people forget what he was like when he was healthy. And also, if you didn't watch the roster that they put together this past year, guys like Herb Jones alongside, guys.
Can't forget Herb Jones.
Yeah. And then getting a guy like Dyson Daniels in the draft this year as well. I really like him. I'm excited to see what they do. They'll actually be debuting after the Pistons game. So as of this recording, I'm going to have already watched that and probably am going to touch myself to it. But anyway, no, I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, yeah, I'm gonna come. But anyway, I had that ready to go. I also have that boy Diffie. I have that. I got let's go. I'm pretty excited. And then Detroit basketball. So I got them all loaded up, man. I was prepared.
I just can't believe you got I'm gonna come. That's just funny.
Of course. I'm gonna come. I had to have it. Oh my gosh. This is you're not getting much better content than this.
No, you're not. You're not.
Troy, it's been so long, my friend. It's time to wrap this up the only way we know how. It's time to take it from Mount Rushmore, my friend. Take it home. What do you have planned for us?
We're on part 5 of 5. It seems as like it's dragged out so long of positions here. We're on the center position here. And I have a little new segment for next week that hopefully we can do for a few weeks. I'm excited to introduce it to you guys next week. You guys might think it's lame. I doubt it, though. You guys will have fun with it. No. But it'll be fun. It'll be fun what we got next week. A whole new series going. But this week we're talking about centers, the Mount Rushmore of centers to play the game of basketball, the game we love. And I'll just start out. I'll start out with Wilt the Stilt. Wilt Chamberlain has the record for most points scored in a game with 100. He's a guy that had stats that we may never see again as far as the rebounding, as far as the points per game. I just feel like he was a freak among nature. I know there's the argument of, he played against a bunch of 6'4" white guys, whatever. But the thing is, the guy was ahead of his time in so many ways. We haven't really seen a center like him really at all. I mean, I guess you can make a few arguments. Maybe we'll get to some of those guys in a second. But really in today's game, there's no one like Wilt. So I think he revolutionized the game in a lot of ways. But I think his stats, his rebounding, and his points, for me, you can't have another guy on this list that's not him with the top 4 here. So Wilt Chamberlain has to be on my list of Mount Rushmore best centers.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll name somebody who, you haven't seen a specimen like Wilt since, and that would be Shaquille O'Neal. Because, guys, Sean brought him up earlier. We talk about Zion. We talk about how dominant he is. Imagine Zion, but like 7 inches taller. I mean, Shaq, and this is probably I'm a little more biased because I actually got to watch kind of the back years of Shaq. Mm-hmm. But overall, Shaquille O'Neal deserves to be in your Mount Rushmore of best centers. 15-time All-Star, MVP, as you know. Honestly, Steve Nash owns another MVP. It's actually at Steve Nash's house. 15 like I said, 3-time Finals MVP, 4-time NBA titles, thanks to Kobe, thanks to other people. But still, Shaquille, most dominant force, you could argue, next to Wilt in the NBA ever. So I'm gonna go with Shaq. He's up there for me.
Guys, there is no Shaq, there is no Hakeem, there is no Dwight Howard without Bill Russell, the man, the myth, the legend, the greatest big of all time, the greatest winner in the history of professional sports. This man is oh my gosh. This man helped the Celtics. It helped his teams capture 17 of the first 23 NBA championships. Oh my God. Like this man that has done so much throughout his career. How many freaking rings did this guy have? 11.
One at every level.
Yeah, this man literally had too many. Like this man had a ring for every finger and then some. And in addition, he was a multi-time, Defensive Player of the Year award. The most valuable player award in the finals is named after Bill Russell for a reason. He is the definition of what it means to be a winner, a consummate professional, and also everything he withstood, everything he means to the game. His number is being retired amongst the entire league for a reason. It is because it is Bill Mother Russell. May he rest in peace.
Yeah, may he rest in peace.
Good one. I mean, I guess I have to close with Kareem, right?
Have to, yeah.
There's no other way to do it.
There's a pretty big one we're leaving off here, but I'll get to that in a second.
Big time. We'll get to him in a sec.
What about Ilgauskas?
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah,
we're missing him.
You read my mind.
Come on.
Yeah,
no, but Kareem's
that's
the guy.
really, yeah.
We know his real name, Lou Alcindor. He comes into the league from UCLA with the Milwaukee Bucks, wins the championship in 1971. But one of the most dominant college players too, guys. I mean, he really was with UCLA. I mean, there was really no match for him. The UCLA had a huge winning streak with him on the team. Comes in, wins the championship with the Bucks, but I think we most recognize him with the Lakers. Gets traded with them in, I think, 1975. Pairs up with Magic a few years later, win a championship there in 1980, and then win a few more in the mid 80s as well. And he had a 20-year career, and that's something that we don't see a ton these days. I think LeBron might be an exception with a few other guys too, like Vince and stuff like that. But Kareem's a guy that he has the NBA record for all-time leading scorer. That might be broken this year with LeBron James, but Kareem just means so much to the game. Similar to Bill Russell with a lot of the civil rights stuff like that, standing up for social justice. But I think the big thing with Kareem is that sky hook, right? That sky hook, right? Just
and the all-time leading scorer still at this point.
Yep, absolutely. So Kareem has to be on my list. Not for long. LeBron James, right?
He's got to average 16.9 points.
But guys,
so good.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Oh, dude, I would have.
Yeah, Hakeem the Dream. Got to bring him up. You need some honorable mentions.
Listen, man, we're putting a fifth on there. I don't care. Hakeem.
Yeah, no, we have to. We have to. Yeah. But I was thinking him over Russell. I think you made a great argument why Russell should be on him over Olajuwon. I'm agreeing with you, Sean.
If we're taking anyone off, I'd go Russell over Wilt Chamberlain.
Really?
Yeah.
Would you, Jeff?
I don't know. Will it's tough. It's tough.
To the argument,
if we're talking about the most, like I don't know, it depends on the context. Like Bill Russell's, he's just a pure winner, man, and he affected the game.
The pure winner, the best player to the game of basketball, but the individual stat pounder.
Yeah, it's Will. It's probably Will. That's why you got to add a fifth. They're also. I mean, this is a whole fifth. There's so many. For sure, five. Got to throw the fifth.
Yeah.
Hakeem the Dream, man. Say it.
Yeah.
Ben Wallace, honorable mention.
Yeah, Ben Wallace is on my Mount Rushmore. But I mean, let's be honest. I mean, that's the list. That just is the list.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
But what is your list? Let us know in the comment section down below.
Why does it have Ilgauskas?
Yeah, why is it where is Ilgauskas? Come on now. But with that, folks, seriously, man, it's good to be back with y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is from Half-Court each and every week. You can get all things NBA coverage. If you like that, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. But for now, we got to wrap this up because we're actually about to go live. By this point, you will have seen my beautiful face live. I don't even know what I'm going to be saying there yet, but you will. That is going to do it, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next time from Half-Court. Be sure to subscribe.